As the coronavirus lockdowns increase around the world, we are seeing mass protests, we are seeing rioting across Europe, and I believe soon we will start to see these things here in the US. Now, if you look to the media and you look to the stance that leftists are taking, it's for your own good. Let the government lock you in your home and take away your rights. Because as you all know by now, and the joke has been made a million times, is the famous quote from Patrick Henry, "Give me liberty or give me death." Unless, of course, there is a pandemic, then by all means, give up all of your rights to the government. In Europe, things are particularly bad. There's been rioting in Italy and Spain, mass protests in Germany, riots in Prague, mass protests in the UK. In France, if you want to leave your home, you need your papers. No joke. In Greece, if you want to leave your home, if you want to go outside, you have to text the authorities and give them a good reason why you're doing it. And there's only a few exemptions as to why you're allowed. Probably the scariest thing we're seeing is in Denmark, mandatory vaccinations. These things are coming to the U.S. Maybe not mandatory vaccinations. We have a constitution here, but perhaps they're saying now, I think in PA, you have to wear a mask in your house. It's only going to get worse. It absolutely is. And you better believe that under a President Joe Biden, it will be beyond a dark winter. And the funny thing is, all of this is coming up around the Great Reset, the narrative happening at the same time, where you have these world leaders, these international interests, the World Economic Forum, Justin Trudeau saying, now's our chance. COVID gives us the opportunity to reset global capitalism. Reimagine what this would be like. Time magazine, for instance, is straight up saying the Great Reset, reimagining global capitalism because of the COVID-19 crisis. And then when you say these things, the New York Times says, shut your mouth. It's a conspiracy theory. Well, Time magazine's running like a major spread about this. Trudeau has called for a reset. The World Economic Forum has said the same thing. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's insane. Take a look at this tweet. Denmark, 9 days of protest over a new law that, quote, would be able to define groups of people who must be vaccinated. People who refuse the above can be coerced through physical detainment with police allowed to assist. Remarkable. Well, what's the story here? Mandatory vaccinations? From the local.dk. The parliamentary hearing period for a proposed new law giving the government extended powers to respond to epidemics expires today. The new epidemic law would replace an emergency law passed in the spring, which gave the government extended powers to intervene in society in order to fight COVID-19. As well as enforcing quarantine measures, the existing law empowers the authorities prohibit access to public institutions, supermarkets and shops, public and private nursing homes and hospitals, and also to impose restrictions on access to public transport. Recent instances in which the emergency law has been used by the government to implement rules include partial lockdown of North Jutland and enhanced national restrictions, including assembly limits and mandatory use of face masks announced in October. The emergency and temporary law from March is now up for replacement by a new, more permanent law, which would also ensure provisions for governments to respond to future epidemics and pandemics. The end of the hearing period for the new law means that other parties in the public have been able to study the proposed law and raise their own concerns. So the final version of the proposed law may be different from the one currently in circulation. Some areas in the proposed law that have raised eyebrows include people infected with dangerous diseases can be forcibly given medical examination, hospitalized, treated, and placed in isolation. The Danish Health Authority would be able to define groups of people who must be vaccinated in order to contain and eliminate a dangerous disease. People who refuse the above can, in some situations, be coerced through physical detainment with police allowed to assist. Medics have voiced their concern that the proposed law will give the government too much power over health care. We think these regulations that go too far ought to be changed, Camilla Rathke, head of the Danish Medical Association, told the broadcaster. Well, they've been protesting for quite some time. And that's Denmark. And maybe you're saying, we're Americans, what do we care about Denmark? It's coming here. And it will be soon. This is just from the other day. I mean, arguably, it's actually, just last night. PA government announces new COVID rules, including wearing a mask in your house. The state is reporting more than 5,000 new infections per day, up 115% in 2 weeks. The Great Reset, as it were. It's not a conspiracy theory. They're literally doing it, and it's like plainly obvious. They're saying they are doing it. That's the weirdest thing. The New York Times says, oh, the Great Reset conspiracy theory is back, even though they're quite literally like, because of COVID-19, we're going to shut everything down and reset global capitalism. It's like, okay. So they can say it. That's the name of the game. Now, far right, they had an extra far this time. I'm not even kidding. That's far right, are pushing these baseless conspiracy theories based on our own reporting, they say. Well, listen, Germany. Thousands of Germans protest against Merkel's coronavirus plans. One protester wore a face mask with the words Merkel muzzle. Others held banners with slogans such as Carnival Against Fascism. Coronavirus lockdown in Greece requires people to text authorities before leaving their home. People will only be allowed to leave their homes for work, exercise, and medical reasons. You know, there's one thing getting in the way of a great reset here in the United States, and you know what it is? It is the Constitution. And we've seen in New Jersey, these gym owners cited the 14th Amendment, equality under the law, as to why they were allowed to bypass these restrictions. But I will say it's quite strange that it's Democrats that are enforcing these lockdowns, similar to what we see in Europe, and it's Republicans who are, for the most part, resisting. Not completely, though. Many Republicans are also giving in. And it reminds me an awful lot of the movie Kingsman. No, I'm not implying there's a grand conspiracy among the global elites to kill off and cull the masses. But it really does feel strange that you have all of these elites, these politicians, these millionaires, the World Economic Forum, Davos Group, things like that have been advocating for this for quite some time. And now COVID infection rates are skyrocketing, but COVID deaths are not. That's the weird thing about this, which says to me, we had a very serious problem with COVID earlier this year. And we wanted to slow the spread. So 15 days, right? But they never released the lockdowns for the most part. They eased restrictions in many places, and now they're bringing them all back. It's actually getting really bad in terms of restrictions. Stores are being picked clean. I hope you are all taking care of yourselves, your friends, and your family, and you've prepared for the worst. I don't know what their plans are, why they're doing it, but I can tell you there's no way they actually want to lock things down out of a fear of COVID. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. I know the media is immediately going to be like, it's a conspiracy theory, Tim. It's a conspiracy theory. Is it now? Exclusive from Bill Malugin. We've obtained photos of Governor Gavin Newsom at the Napa dinner party he's in hot water over. The photos call into question just how outdoors the dinner was. A witness who took photos tells us his group was so loud, the sliding door had to be closed. My friends, Gavin Newsom has now been caught twice, completely violating his own restrictions in California. If he was so worried about COVID, why are they all sitting around a large gathering indoors with no masks on? Because they're not scared, because they don't care. Maybe you might say, well, then if they want to risk their health and safety, fine. You assume that Gavin Newsom just doesn't care if he gets sick. Okay. Then why is he forcing everyone else? You see, therein lies the big problem. And I think it's fair to say that politicians do this all the time. You know, it's like in Chicago, you can't have guns unless, of course, you're a politician. You are not allowed to carry it. Well, now you are because there's a Supreme Court ruling. But here you go. So you mean to tell me that while these Davos elites, Time Magazine, Vox.com, all these progressives are saying we need a lockdown, many of them are then going on to say it's time for a great reset. The Democrats then enforce the lockdown, but ignore them for themselves. And I'm supposed to believe Governor Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and these other Democrats are actually worried about COVID? No, it sounds like their motivation is their stated reason, the Great Reset. Of course, they say it's a conspiracy. Well, first, let me show you the new rules that are affecting Pennsylvania. They say PA is planning on taking additional steps to address a sharp increase in COVID. Starting, they say, it requires masks to be worn indoors, in your own house. Wow. In addition, starting Friday, anyone who enters Pennsylvania must be tested at least 72 hours before arrival. And if they can or do not get a test, they must quarantine for 14 days. The order does not apply to people who commute to neighboring states for work or for healthcare, officials said, and will be largely self-enforced. Okay, fine. I have a question. You know, I brought this up a while ago. In New York City, they put checkpoints up when you come into the city. Where are you from? Where are you going? Things like that. And if you're from a COVID heavy area, they make you quarantine. This is going to make sure the economy of New York completely collapses. Maybe they're trying to reset property values. I have no idea. Bill de Blasio announced he wanted to buy up some of these vacant properties now that people have been fleeing the city. But I said, I mentioned this when I covered it the first time. If they're going to enforce these ridiculous restrictions and lockdowns, then it seems like they're just trying to destroy their economy. I mean, you look at the riots when these district attorneys, the Democrats, release rioters and then they go and smash and loot and destroy, just destroys the economy. Could it be a great reset? They said this. Okay, look, I'm not going to imply that they made the riots happen. People rioted because they were angry, probably because of the lockdown. They certainly didn't care to stop it, though, when small businesses were being looted and destroyed. And an ongoing narrative was they survived the COVID lockdowns. Their small business thrived. Then came the riots. Yeah, the riots came in, finished them all off, smashing up their windows, stealing their stuff. And with no way to recover and with limited business as it was, people just gave up. How about that story from New Jersey where the woman was selling goods online? The store was closed and she was filming things on Facebook saying, if you see anything you like, message me and I'll ship them to you. And the cops came and shut her down. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and y'all got to wear your mask indoors. Here we go from the Daily Dot. Trudeau's speech reignites conspiracy theory fervor over Great Reset. They say internet conspiracy theorists have resurrected a belief that global elites created the coronavirus pandemic as part of an evil plot to plan a new world order via the Great Reset. Well, I certainly never said that, and I don't think that's the case. I think you can clearly see the data that COVID's a problem, and I hope people take it seriously. I just don't think it's the apocalypse. I think wearing masks is a good idea, and I have a really cool mask. I don't think I have it in here. Someone made it for me. I mentioned it all the time. It's got a little beanie on it. That's great. And it's really comfortable, easy, and I don't care. Masks, whatever. I go out to the store, I put the mask on, and I don't even notice. Not a big deal, right? The issue is now we're seeing more cases, but we're also seeing weird anomalies like that one singer who got her left nostril positive and her right nostril negative, like what? And then Elon Musk took 4 tests and 2 were negative and 2 were positive. It's like, okay, man, the tests seem to be giving us a lot of false positives, it would seem. So cases are skyrocketing. Hospitalizations aren't, and deaths aren't. Because I think when you look at the current amount of deaths, COVID's here to stay. And I think it was even Fauci who said it. Not that I trust him all that much now, but that, it was going to remain. And we're probably going to have a COVID season. It's going to be like the flu and it's going to be a problem. We need a vaccine. And I'm like, makes sense to me. Now what we're seeing is the global elites exploiting the crisis for their Great Reset. Not creating it. But you see what the Daily Dot does is they make it as crazy as possible so you disregard it. They say, conspiracy theorists think that the real goal of the reset is to create a global totalitarian regime. I mean, that's a rather extreme way of putting it. They just said they want to reset global capitalism, which would be a massive transfer of wealth from lower class people to the wealthy. The theory first circulated over the summer. As with many conspiracy theories, the logic behind the belief in a great reset is convoluted and largely based on half-truths. So-called evidence includes a book by the World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab, a 2016 piece by the World Economic Forum, President-elect Joe Biden's campaign slogan, and now a recent Trudeau speech. Joe Biden's campaign slogan, Build Back Better, is being pushed by a ton of different people in different countries. They're all saying Build Back Better. Okay, come on, man. You're not going to convince me that we're not, like, there are 4 lights. I can see what they're saying and doing and what they're calling for. Spare me this ridiculous whatever. In the 2016 piece on the World Economic Forum website, experts from its Global Future Council made predictions about life in 2030. One quote that, has since, this is interesting. One quote the conspiracy theory crowd clung to, that global socialism is imminent, is from a since deleted 2016 tweet linking the piece in which the WEF said, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. This is how the world could change by 2030. They actually deleted the tweet because Great Reset was trending on Twitter. And they had this video up where they said, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Western values have been pushed to the limit. It's time for something new. I think consumerism is bad. Like, it's just consumer culture where we just buy more and more stuff. I think it's dumb. We got to create products that last. We need to build an economy around like things that work and work for a long time instead of planned obsolescence. That's bad. I'm all down for protecting the environment and recycling and eating healthier and doing right. But what they're doing is exploiting a crisis. And these people, like I showed you with Gavin Newsom, the wealthy are sucking up the power. You see what happens is when they lock everything down, most people buy from big box stores which remain open. Small mom and pop shops are shuttered. So you've got this story from the Daily Dot. You've also got this one from the New York Times. The baseless Great Reset conspiracy theory rises again. Oh, you conspiracy theorists. They say on Monday morning, the phrase Great Reset trended with nearly 80,000 tweets, much more than that, actually. They say, with most of the posts coming from familiar far-right internet personalities, the conspiracy alleges that a cabal of elites has long planned for the pandemic so they could use it to impose their global economic control on the masses. In some versions of the unfounded rumor, it is only President Trump who is thwarting this plan and keeping the scheme at bay. Yeah, because Trump said no lockdown. But it's not, it's Time Magazine, the great, look at this, time.com, the Great Reset. The COVID-19 pandemic has provided a unique opportunity to think about the kind of future we want. Time partnered with the World Economic Forum to ask leading thinkers to share ideas for how to transform the way we live and work. Sir, I'm sure some people think it's been long since planned, that the goal of the pandemic, or they believe it was manufactured. I'm not doing that. When I was talking to Alex Jones on the IRL podcast, which YouTube took down, by the way, he said there's an article from like New Scientist or whatever that talks about the creation of something that, years ago, a virus they called COVID-19 or whatever. And then they issued an update saying that's not the case. And like, look, man, maybe I don't care. It's irrelevant. Okay. Maybe it's relevant and fine. Find evidence, consider it. The point is, they are using COVID for the Great Reset, period. You want to argue some stuff beyond that, you can think whatever you want to think. Right now, the fact we can point out is that hospitalizations are not going up and deaths are only spiked a little bit, not as bad as it was. It went up and then it went back down. And cases are skyrocketing while people are questioning the success rate of these tests, in which case these politicians are clearly trying to exploit a crisis. That's reality. They do it all the time. They've always done it. Okay. Trump used videos of the riots and said, vote for me. That people, it's a normal part of politics. The issue I take is that I never voted for Justin Trudeau or Boris Johnson or any of these other build back better reset folks. We live in America. Now, if you want to create this utopian world, I think you do it through culture, through inspiring people, through having them rise to the challenge so that we can help make this world a better place and create international and national goals. What I've explained the other day. Let's go to Mars. Let's put Elon Musk on the cover of the magazines or whatever, in the music videos and the movies, and prop him up because he's doing awesome stuff. They're not. The leftists who call for this stuff hate Elon Musk. They say he's wasting money. Therein lies the scary problem. I want a future of progress and success, of sustainability, of clean, breathable air and water, recycling, an end to consumerist culture and planned obsolescence, people to be able to work and survive and save. And I want to go to the stars, and I want to explore, and I want life to be fun, exciting, and to bring about progress. The left attacks it. They want to live in the woods, not all of them, but many. I'm not even exaggerating. They say that we need to go back to a pre-industrial civilization so that we can live better in sync with nature and the environment. They say Elon Musk is wasting money building these rocket ships because we got to focus on healthcare instead. They just want everybody to own nothing and to just, sit around and read books or something. They're not bringing about a better future. Maybe they think they're the good guys, but authoritarianism, manipulation is the opposite. I'll put it this way. The ends don't justify the means because you never meet the ends. If you believe that everything they're doing right now is for the betterment of mankind, then they're always going to be doing things like this. They will have their Great Reset. They will have their reimagined capitalism. And then the saying goes, and then who will stop the next glorious revolution? You see the problem? If these people are willing to lie, cheat, and steal and cause mass suffering and death to get what they want because it's the right thing to do, why would they ever stop? That's why you don't let these people get power. It will always then be in their world, they're allowed to do it. They're allowed to lock people down and cause suffering. And I don't want to live in a world where the government welds my door shut like they do in China. That's not the way we want to go with this. We want to be more like Star Trek, where we develop technology, we learn to live within our environment better, and then we travel off and explore the stars and colonize the moon and Mars and other places and slowly start building and figuring out better ways to create sustainable environments. You do that through inspiring the younger generation to do better. Instead, we have this weird, culty authoritarianism that wants people not to do science, that doesn't believe in science, and will ultimately resolve in the destruction of the countries that are actually advocating for this. I'll tell you what. In the end, you do your great reset, that's fine. What do you think China's going to do? They're going to keep growing, they're going to keep exploiting, and they're not going to change their ways. They're going to keep pumping out, pollutants and carbon and all that stuff. And you're going to be sitting there saying, we're helping. And they're going to be like, you do you. And then in 100 years, we will live in a world with a dominant Chinese superpower. And they will be locking up Uyghur Muslims like they already are. They're going to lock up people and undesirables. And that's not a world I want to live in. That means we have to stay vigilant and we have to call this out and ignore the lies coming from the media that are trying to convince you it's not true. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you this, the riots will be coming here soon. I hope everything stays calm, but what do you expect? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. It's my main channel, which is different from this one. I will see you all there.